One incident, I had a person pull a gun on me and I was empty-handed. And while empty-handed, I had to take the gun from him and fight him, literally.
They come hard, fast, and ugly. You don't get a warning when these people come through. Crazy.
You might have one shot in a situation. And that one shot, you gotta make that one shot count.
It's Deverick Woodfork with All Out Tactical Firearms Training. And today I got a good buddy of mine with me, Wayne Brown with Fight Back Firearms. What we're doing is launching a good podcast, We Stay Ready Podcast.
With We Stay Ready Podcast, this is episode number 1. We came to educate, teach, and inform you about the 2A lifestyle. We want people to be able to understand that this lifestyle is a very good lifestyle and that it's not a bad thing to be able to understand how to use a weapon and how to teach your children and your family how to protect themselves.
That's right. You know, too often do I hear people think about, oh, I don't need a gun, or they say I don't need a gun. I don't think I'm going to be in a situation like that I'm going to ever be forced to use a firearm. But man, you got it sadly mistaken if that's the way you think. You know, we have had situations ourselves. I know you've had your own situation. I've had my own situation that made us realize the importance of the Second Amendment and having a firearm, right?
Well, our situations both took us towards where we both decided that we wanted to be trainers. We wanted to be able to work with people and teach people the importance of carrying a firearm, that your firearm should be an accessory to your outfit. Your firearm should be, when you walk out the house, like you walk out the house with that cell phone, you should have that gun on you. You should have that knife on you. You should have that pepper spray on you. You should have the things that you should have on you that can protect you and get you and your family home safely.
Man, that's right. You know, you just said something about a cell phone. Too often I see people with their heads down on their phone all day long. But how often do individuals practice with a firearm the same way that they practice with their head down on their phone all day long, which is why we do what we do, because we want to educate individuals on the importance of being able to train with that firearm and why it's really important to train with it, right?
Exactly. I started out almost 2 years ago. I met Deverick. We were at an NRA class. He was telling us the story of why he decided to be a trainer. He had an incident that happened with his family involved off of 45 in Houston, Texas, where we live. And this situation changed his whole life, changed his family life, could have cost him his life. And so we decided, and he decided, that he was going to be able to make sure that people understand that it is important to be able to carry your gun on you. And from that day forth, we've been NRA trainers and we've been LTC trainers.
That's right. You know, I can't stress it enough. You know, training is important. Everybody that know me, they know that I don't really care about them having a gun. I care more about them training with that gun. Because I'm pretty sure you, just like me, know a lot of folks that got guns that are just sitting in the top of the closet, sitting in the safe, collecting dust. They don't use it. They're just having a false sense of security, thinking that just because they have it, that's enough.
But they have no plan on how they're going to employ that weapon. They have no plan on how they're going to use that weapon. They have no plan on what to do if a situation happens and how they're going to defend them and their family.
But you got folks that say, hey man, I know how to make it go bang. That's good enough for me. You know, I know how to shoot.
Making it go bang. But if you don't know how to aim what you making go bang, you might have one shot in a situation. And that one shot, you got to make that one shot count. Because that person on the other end of that bullet, after it come out of that chamber, they going to have a shot too. And when they have a shot, if they know how to make that shot count, it's your ass.
You know, you talking about having 30 rounds flying at me and my family. You know, what I believe initially saved me and my family was being able to get that gun out real quick and get in the fight. People carry their guns. Well, you got people that have the guns and they got it sitting around their house, probably in their safe.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the people that got the guns that they carry it, but they never, ever practice drawing it. And me practicing drawing my gun was a thing that actually saved me and my entire family. Some people don't tend to think that that's important.
Well, you got to realize repetition, the things that you do, the more you do it, the easier it becomes in doing it. That is called training. The more you do dry fire, the more you do trigger press, the more you do drawing your firearm, the more you do of learning how to acquire your sights, the more you do of those things, the easier it becomes. And the easier it becomes, the easier it becomes to be able to defend yourself. If you think that you can just pick a firearm up one day and you're going to be dead on, there are techniques in everything in life. And the techniques that you will apply to using that firearm will save your life.
You know, it kind of reminds me of using a GPS. So if you gave me your address for the very first time and I had to drive to your house for the very first time, I'm going to use a GPS maybe the first time, the second or third time. But after I do it for so long, I don't need the GPS anymore.
That's called muscle memory. When using the firearm, it's just like that. Muscle memory. The more you practice using the firearm, the more it's going to become easier to you to use. Because if you practice drawing your firearm, you practice trigger press, you practice those things, they get easier the more repetitions that you put in. Speaking of that, let's talk about March 10th, 2020. March 10th, 2020, you were practicing around your house, drawing your firearm all the time. So let's talk about that day. How did practicing drawing your firearm help you that day?
Well, you know, it definitely, like you said, it definitely created that muscle memory. That was another term I heard somebody say a while ago. I can't think exactly what it was, but it's basically the same as muscle memory. And doing that consistently, what my wife called crazy shit at the time. She used to call me crazy, man, because I used to just do it all the time. I would even trick her sometimes, tell her, hey, I'm going to the store. And just see if she gonna lock the door. And she sometimes didn't lock that door. And I come busting back through that door and doing certain crazy shit that she would call it. And I'm drawing my gun and I'm showing her just how quick things can happen. Mm-hmm. And how if you don't establish this muscle memory that you might end up just fucked when it comes to a situation going on, you know.
One thing I realize, a lot of people don't realize how fast things can happen. A lot of people don't realize that it may look like minutes on the TV when you're watching the news. It may look like it's taking a long time, but it's seconds. It's seconds when stuff will happen. And those seconds, if you're not making the right decisions, they could be the matter of life or death.
That's a good point. So I'm pretty sure you run across this all the time. You got people that think that maybe training as much isn't that important because going back to them just having a gun is enough for them. So they think in their mind that they're going to have the sufficient amount of time to just hurry up and get that gun out or hurry up and take the bad guy out or neutralize the threat because in their mind they thinking that it's just a real quick thing. Well, they're right in one sense because it is a real quick thing, but not in the way that they thinking about it. The way a good buddy of mine said, they come hard, fast, and ugly, and you don't get a warning when these people come to do craziness to you.
What a lot of people don't realize is you already starting in reverse. A lot of people don't get that when a criminal has picked you as his target and that they're going to get ready to try to assault you, rob you, that you are the victim that they chose that day. They are already 2 to 3 steps ahead of you because they already got their gun drawn. They're already proceeding forward. Then you have to try to catch up to what they are doing. You got to be the one to say to yourself, okay, I see what's happening. Now I got to try to initiate what I'm going to do to defend myself.
Yep. And, you know, that's called breaking the OODA loop. You know, that's exactly what that's called. It's called breaking the OODA loop. But if you don't train, how are you going to break the OODA loop?
If you don't train, you're not going to be prepared. And see, a lot of people, like we said, they think, I got a gun. I'm okay. No, you're not. And I've learned that myself. You're not okay. Just because you have a gun. Imagine in the middle of the night, someone's kicking in your door. They're kicking in your door. What are you doing in the middle of the night? Most of the time.
Sleep.
You sleep. So you first of all got to wake up. You already behind the 8 ball because they already wide awake. They kicking in your door. Their gun is already drawn. You waking up in a stupor. So soon as you get up, you got to first dig around to where you got your gun. Most people don't realize that I set my gun in the same spot every night when I go to sleep, the same way every night when I go to sleep, so that if something happens, I know how my gun is going to be sitting. I know how I'm going to grab the grip. I know how I'm going to grab the handle. And when I grab my gun, I know how I'm going to grip my gun. I know how where I need to be for my trigger press. I know everything. I know that because I've set it down in the same spot all the time. So a lot of people don't practice that.
And that's a very, very good point right there, because some people may carry their gun in appendix carry one day. Some people may carry their gun at 3 o'clock position another day. Some people may carry their gun in 6 o'clock position another day. Basically just continuously switching stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is a big, big no-no to me, because what if you carry your gun in appendix carry one day, but the next day or next couple of weeks you carry it in the 3 o'clock position, and that day you getting approached and you probably may need to use deadly force and use your firearm that day, and you just go to appendix carry because you have been trained and trained your mind and conditioned yourself to carry in that way. And now you fumbling and stumbling in those seconds, splits of a second
count.
Man, it's important. People don't realize it, you know.
Well, that's where I go down to training. The way you train, the way that you consistently train, not just training once every blue moon. There are ways you consistently train at your home that don't cost you $1. Because see, most people are afraid of training because they're afraid of the cost of training. A lot of people say, I don't want to pay a firearms instructor. I don't want to burn my ammo. I don't want to pay range fees. Okay, you don't want to pay these things. Well, you can consistently at home do certain exercises that will help you develop the skills that you need by developing these skills with an empty firearm right at home. So there's no excuse for not training.
No, it really ain't. I've even told people, man, go get a BB gun. Go to your nearest sports and outdoor store if you got an academy or whatever it's called, wherever you located it. Go get a BB gun. You know, it ain't the real thing. You may not get the recoil, you know, and I'm talking about a BB gun that has a CO2 cartridge, something that has a little bit of a blowback design to it, so that way you get the closest to a real feel as you can, you know, in practice. Actually, that's how when I first started training, before I started going to the range real heavy, that's what I was doing.
When I first started training and going to the range real heavy, I bought a 22, a 22 LR. I bought a 22 LR. I learned how to shoot with that gun, basically. That gun taught me how to progress to using higher caliber guns. I was young. That gun really taught me how to be dead on. Let's talk about something though. Speaking of dead on, let's talk about March 10th. Let's go back to that. I want to know some things about that day. What did you go through that day? And what got you to this spot where me and you are sitting here today and we're discussing this podcast?
Man, I would, so for the people that don't know, I was doing remodeling. I was painting houses, doing floors, getting dirty every day, barely shaved. It never went through my mind of even becoming a firearms instructor. I was going to the gun range, but I was one of those people, you're going to trip out on this. I was one of those people that was going to the range, shooting my 9mm, but it looked like I was shooting buckshots. And I was happy. I was happy.
I'm hitting the paper.
Yep, I was happy that I was hitting the paper. Because I'm thinking that, hey, it's going to be just this easy to hit a real target if I have to. It never came across my mind of doing what I'm doing now. But when I went through what I went through, man, it was a life-changing event that really hit home for me, because what a lot of people don't know is that day, me and my wife was actually on our way somewhere else, but we stopped at that place, and it was going to be somebody else that was going to get approached, and it wasn't going to be me. So maybe that person wouldn't have been armed and trained and had the heart and the willingness to fight back like they should have had. Man, but I want to hear more about what got you into doing what you do as far as firearms training.
What got me into doing what I do as far as firearms training, D, when it come down to it, in the last couple of years, I've had a couple of incidents that could have cost me my life. And both incidents, I didn't have my firearm on me, even though I was licensed to carry. And if I would have had my firearm in both those situations, the situation would have turned out a different way. So I learned I named my company Fight Back off of I wasn't afraid to fight back. One incident, I had a person pull a gun on me and I was empty-handed. And while empty-handed, I had to take the gun from him and fight him, literally, to protect myself and to make sure that I didn't die that day. And so that day, it started really resonating in my head. Hey, man, you need to tell other people about carry your firearm, carry it religiously. Because if you don't carry your firearm, you can find yourself in a situation when you need it and you'd rather have it than not have it. Another situation happened where I was at work and I can't carry my firearm on my job. Unfortunately, that's something that is a sore subject to me, because these companies will not allow you to carry your firearm, and you find yourself as a sitting duck and you can't do anything to protect yourself against these wolves out here. You're a sheep. And they don't understand, even if you have an LTC and you want to carry your firearm, they tell you it's against policy. Okay, it's against policy. But what do you do to replace me with my family when I'm out there in the streets working for you and something happened to me and I don't go home that day?
Man, I just can't imagine, being in that situation, man. It really does display the importance of why we do what we do. And the whole thing about companies, I understand companies have their policies and whatnot, but we still got to be able to protect ourselves too. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's like a one-sided thing when it comes to that.
A lot of these companies don't want you to even bring a firearm on their premises. And we're going to have a podcast just on that, about firearms and the job place. A lot of these companies, they're thinking about profit, but we're just a number. So I hate that a lot of people have to go and punch that clock. And we have to punch a clock for a company that doesn't doesn't recognize the 2A lifestyle. They don't recognize that their employees are targets, and you have to let your employee sometimes be their own first responder.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, because at the end of the day, we have families to make it home to that are dependent on us to take care of them, and not just take care of them, but they love us, and we love our families, and we should be able to protect ourselves at any and all costs. I mean, especially we in Texas. I've just came from California, and oh my God, some of the laws and restrictions that they have on there revolving around firearms. We're gonna say that for another episode. But man, I would love to talk about that too, because it almost reminds me of what you're talking about as far as not being able to fully protect yourself, whenever you're on a job site. But man, you got some states out here that you can't protect yourself like you need to.
I've always said I never move to New York. I never move to Chicago. I never move to California. Those 3 states can kiss my ass. Because when it come down to it, I'm going to carry my firearm because I've seen what could happen without it. Unfortunately, I can't carry my firearm to work. And believe me, every day when I go to work, when I take that firearm off me, it's like I've taken my belt off and my pants are about to sag. It's like I've left my shoes at home. It's like most of y'all gonna understand this. I left my cell phone at home because y'all has to turn around and go home to get that cell phone. And to not have my gun on me because of a policy, it makes me want to see what I can do more to get out of that system.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I heard you say you didn't have your firearm and somebody else had a firearm and you was barehanded and you had to take care of business.
Yes, sir. I had to take care of business. He pulled the gun on me. He know who he is. I ain't gonna say your name. He pulled the gun on me over a situation that was it was to me at the time, it was more shocking that someone pulled the gun on me. But in the situation, I attacked him. I didn't be a sheep. I was the wolf. And he thought I was going to be the sheep. But see, I knew in that situation, if I didn't attack, that I would have probably got shot. So I attacked him. I took the gun from him. And then Shadow BJJ. Shout out. Shadow BJJ. If you don't have skills with a firearm, you got to have empty hand skills. You got to be able to have the wherewithal to step up and fight. That's why this company name is Fight Back. Because I wasn't afraid to fight back. I took the gun from him. Matter of fact, I took the gun from him and kept the gun. And in that situation, I had to take the gun from him. And it was either take the gun from him or he take my life. And after that situation happened, I said to myself, I want to educate people on carry your firearm. Now I carry my firearm even when I'm exercising, only time I don't carry it is when I got to hit that clock. Anything else I'm doing, I carry that firearm. Most of the time, if I step into a place and they got a 51% sign, I don't even want to go to that place because I don't feel comfortable without it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't really like going anywhere without my firearm. It's like, once again, it's family. My firearm is family. And if my family can't go nowhere, even my wife, my kids, if they're not invited, I ain't invited. If my gun not invited, I'm not invited. Unfortunately, I just came from a place where, hey, my gun wasn't invited, but I went. But that was to go and spread the two-way gospel. But man, I really appreciate what we do, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of other people that appreciate what we do, and we are really changing the narrative on so many levels, and y'all make sure y'all check out We Stay Ready podcast. We got a whole lot of good things coming. I mean, good topics, stuff that most people won't even want to even talk about.
This is just our introduction. This is just episode number 1. And moving forward, we're going to have a lot of topics that are going to be gripping. We're going to have some topics that some people not going to like. Some going to ruffle your feathers. Some of them, we're not going to read your topics. We're not going to read your comments anyway because we don't give a damn about your comments. But we want to educate. We want to be able to inform people of new products that come out, new product lines. We want to be able to do giveaways. We want to be able to teach people all that we know about 2A. And we're going to try to learn more in this process so we can give you more information. So if you subscribe, if you stay tuned, if you become one with us and become part of our family, we're going to do one thing. And that one thing is try to give you the best information that we can give you so that you can be able to protect yourself.
Man, you hit it right on the note, man. So y'all check us out. Stay tuned. Once again, I'm Deverett Woodfork with All Out Tactical Firearms Training Education. My good brother right here, Wayne Brown with Fight Back Firearms, and we're on a mission to spread this 2A gospel. Y'all stay tuned.